Hi everyone, my name is Aik Keong and I'm from Dr. Wealth, and today I'm going to share with you more about cryptocurrency basics, and we are going to compare between Bitcoin and Ethereum. So here are some basic disclaimer. Do take a while to pause the video and read the disclaimer. So we'll start off by sharing with you what is Bitcoin. We'll start off with the basic history of Bitcoin, the origins and who is the creator. We'll talk about how does Bitcoin work, and we'll talk about a little bit about the fundamentals of Bitcoin. So the creator of Bitcoin is this guy called Satoshi Nakamoto. From the day of the creation to today, we are unsure if it's a single person or a group of developers. But the important thing is that this Bitcoin domain was created on the 31st of October, and 2 months later, on January 3rd of January 2009, the first Bitcoin was being mined. So based on the white paper itself written by Satoshi Nakamoto, the first line is the most important for Bitcoin itself, where it says a purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash that will allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. So what is a financial institution, if you ask? Let me share with you some of the examples of financial institutions that we do or we go through in our daily payment transactions. Here are different types of transactions that we go through every day. If you pay by cash, your financial institution will be by governments or banks, because the cash itself is being issued by the governments or banks depending on which country you are from or the cash is from. Next, we have the check or bank transfers, and these are usually issued by the banks because they are also processed by them as well. We also have electronic fund transfer itself. These are done by banks. So in Singapore, we have NETS or PayNow. Lastly, electronic payments. These are handled by credit card companies or payment gateways. So what's the difference between these two companies? Credit card companies like Visa, Mastercard, Amex, they are the ones that handle the payments, where users or customers buy items or make payments for services via credit and then pay off at a stipulated period of time, or by payment gateways. In Singapore, we have GrabPay, we have FavePay, while in other countries like in US, there's Square, where handles digital payments. So these are your financial institutions. But for Bitcoin doesn't need to go through any financial institutions. Bitcoin is a purely peer-to-peer network. So how does that work? Let's say Alice wants to transfer some money to Bob, and Alice makes a request of a transaction here. And that request is being broadcasted to the P2P network, or the peer-to-peer network consists of computers known as nodes. So we'll talk more about the nodes in the later part, alright? And what happens is that the P2P network of nodes will validate the transaction itself using the user status using known algorithms. One of the most basic algorithms is to check whether Alice have enough Bitcoin to send over to Bob. So let's say if Alice wants to send 1 Bitcoin over to Bob, the algorithm will first check does Alice have enough balance in her wallet. If Alice does not have enough balance, the transaction will fail. If Alice do have more than 1 Bitcoin and 1 or more Bitcoin, the transaction will be approved and that 1 Bitcoin will be transferred over to Bob. And once this transaction is verified, it will be combined with the other transactions to create a new block of data for across the ledger itself. And this is added on to a continuing growing list of ledger in such a way that it's always appending to the ledger itself. This addition is permanent and unalterable. We'll talk more about this as well as we talk about the fundamentals of Bitcoin. As you can see, the transfer between Alice and Bob does not involve any financial institution. Therefore, it is a purely peer-to-peer transaction. So a little bit more about Bitcoin itself and some of the fundamentals of Bitcoin. For Bitcoin itself, there's a total supply of 21 million. No more, no less. At the time being right now, there's 18.7 million Bitcoin that's been circulating. We have the miners or the nodes, as we mentioned earlier, because each node is considered a mining rig, and when you run a group of mining rigs or you're considered a miner itself. All these little machines in these racks like this that runs through the entire warehouse, this is called a mining farm. Anyone can buy all these rigs and set it up in any parts of the world, whether it be China, India, or the US, or even in Japan. Therefore, they are distributed. And why I mean by decentralized? Because no single entity owns the entire Bitcoin network. No one can say that they shut down their own mining farm, the entire Bitcoin network will fail. Therefore, it is decentralized. And earlier I mentioned about the blockchain or the ledger itself. Once you append a block to it, or you make a transaction as append to the block to it, you cannot change any transactions that has happened before. Therefore, the ledger itself is immutable. As you can see, all these mining rigs cost money. They are hardware. They also run on electricity. They also need internet connection itself. Therefore, miners are rewarded with block rewards. And if you see here, the block rewards are being reduced in roughly every 4 years, and they are halved every 4 years as well. This is what we call the halving. And as you can see that the supply of new Bitcoin is being reduced lesser and lesser every 4 years. As such, a basic fundamental thesis or investment thesis that most of us cryptocurrency investors do have is the supply and demand. As supply continues to drop while demand continues to increase, we will see that value will indefinitely go up as time continues on. That is Bitcoin. So we'll touch on next is what is Ethereum. And some of the fun points that we're going to share with you is the basic history of Ethereum, what is Ethereum and the smart contract and gas itself, how can Ethereum work in our modern world, and lastly Ethereum by the numbers. So a little bit basic history of Ethereum itself. It was created by this Russian-Canadian programmer called Vitalik Buterin. He wrote a white paper to the Bitcoin community that says that Bitcoin needs to be programmable, because Bitcoin then is just a store of value. Yes, you cannot do anything other than using it as a store of value, like gold. So he suggested that Bitcoin should evolve and allow applications to be developed on, such that it can be used to run programs or process certain functions on the internet. But the Bitcoin community then didn't agree to his suggestion. And what happened was that Vitalik did not give up his dream, or did not give up his goal. He found a few developers and they came up with a new cryptocurrency called the Ethereum. And they released the first working model in July 2015. So what does Ethereum does? Ethereum actually runs a decentralized virtual environment that can complete scripts and run decentralized applications while providing a native digital currency. It's a lot computer jargon here, but do bear with me a little bit as I explain further on what this is actually all about. And one of the most widely used applications on Ethereum is called the smart contract. So unlike Bitcoin, where we have no idea who are the people behind Satoshi Nakamoto, Vitalik Buterin goes around the world talking about Ethereum, sharing the reports and updates on Ethereum itself, making himself known to the internet world. And he is pretty much like a rock star in the cryptocurrency environment. So what is a smart contract? A smart contract is a simple program that runs on the Ethereum blockchain. It facilitates the exchange of money, content, property, shares, or anything of value. And usually is a self-operating computer program that automatically executes when specific conditions are met. Look at it pretty much like a vending machine placed in a park or a stadium. And usually you will need to pay gas, which is also a tiny bit of Ethereum, to pay for transactions, which is subjective to the network's use and congestion. So sometimes when the network is very highly congested, a lot of people are transacting on it, you need to pay a higher gas fee. So why I'm saying it's like a vending machine is because smart contracts, once you run it up on the internet, it will run by itself, just like a vending machine. You set it up somewhere, you don't need to keep on attending to it. It will process the vending machine. It will process functions according to how you program it. Just like a vending machine itself, it is meant to sell drinks here. Users pay for the drinks, and then the drinks will be expanded to the user itself. The owner of the vending machine just needs to come in, replenish the drinks, and collect the payments. So how does the smart contract will work in our modern world? One of it could be to be converting or changing the ways we buy properties. So the traditional way of purchasing a home is to pay for lawyers and brokers in between is called property agents. Here in Singapore we have. And sometimes we need to pay for insurance as well based on the property that we buy. And as such, the commissions and fees are stacked on top of the transaction price. So let's say you buy a property at 1 million, usually pay about 5% to the property agent, for example, and we also need to pay lawyers for all the paperwork that they do. So all these fees are stacked on top of the transacted price based on property itself. So $1 million property probably cost additional 5 to 10% depending on the comms and fees. But using a smart contract where a country recognizes the code as law, for example, seller Bob here can simply sell to Alice via the smart contract, where the conditions is once Alice deposit the payment into the smart contract itself, the property will be legally owned by Alice. Simple as that. And all Alice does, or Bob needs to do, is to pay the transaction fee to create the smart contract and to transact with the smart contract itself. And in future, if Alice wants to sell the property, it can sell to another person via the change of the smart contract to her conditions as well. Look at this way. There is no need to pay your property agents. You don't need to pay for lawyers as well. In such, you can save a lot more fees compared to paying commissions and fees to all those people earlier. So just to share with you a little bit of Ethereum by the numbers. Currently in circulating supply, there's 116 million Ethereum as of 23rd of July 2021. Unlike Bitcoin, where there's a capped supply, there is an unlimited supply of Ethereum. One of the reasons why Vitalik said it is unlimited because they want Ethereum to be widely used by people as much as possible. If you set a cap to it, or if Ethereum rises in price by too much, it could become a barrier itself, an entry barrier for people who are at the lower investment area. And it also runs on a proof of work, just like the mining risk itself. So Ethereum, instead of mining by the machine, you can actually run by running GPU or graphic cards, and that drives the price of graphic cards massively. Instead, they are upgrading the Ethereum network to run on the proof of stake in Ethereum 2.0. So if you want to find out more about Ethereum 2.0, do share with me in the chat itself and type down in the chat below. Right now, they are the number 2 ranking in the market cap after Bitcoin. So before I talk more about the differences between Bitcoin and Ethereum, I'd like to share with you guys the BlockChain Trilemma. So for all cryptocurrencies that we have currently in the world, they will face this problem between security, decentralization, and scalability. So what I mean by this, if you are a highly secure and decentralized coin like Ethereum and Bitcoin, you will have problems with scalability. When there are more users on the internet, there are more users for Ethereum or Bitcoin, the cost of transaction actually goes up. At one point of time, when Ethereum was hitting the all-time high as $4,000, transacting on the Ethereum will cost more than $200, which means that even if you're transferring between $50 to $100, it will cost you $200 to complete that transaction. It doesn't make sense, and it's definitely not feasible. But there are other coins like the Ripple or EOS. They are doing highly secureable cryptocurrencies. At the same time, they are also very scalable, which means that they allow a lot of transactions to be running at the same time. But because of that, they have to be very centralized. So they give up on the decentralization part. So for now, all cryptocurrencies run into these issues where you can only have 2 out of the 3. But we can't say whether in the future if this trilemma will be resolved. At the same time, Ethereum is going upgrade into Ethereum 2.0 by slowly breaking up tiny bits of upgrades along the way. And one of them we're talking is the optimism upgrade, where gas fees will be reduced, where we won't be able to see things like $200 transaction fee for $50. It will bring down gas prices down to $1 or lower for all transactions. So that's it for Ethereum, and we come back to the main point about Bitcoin versus Ethereum. So here are some of the basics or fundamentals of Bitcoin itself, which is that it can be only used as a store of value. There's nothing else you can do with Bitcoin. There's no programmable basis behind it, and when you transfer Bitcoin to somebody else, it is as if you're giving somebody a piece of gold. It still runs on proof of work even up to today, where you need the mining rigs to run it. And it is causing quite an issue itself, as people around the world are blaming Bitcoin mining as one of the key factors of affecting our global climate. It also runs a little bit slower transactions because every block is taking about 8 to 10 minutes to run. In cryptocurrencies, this is considered slow, where some of the transactions out there can be completed within 1 minute or even load faster at 10 seconds to 30 seconds. But because Bitcoin is a first cryptocurrency out in the world, it's also the biggest in market cap, where all retail and institutional investors will always or will be the first to enter into the cryptocurrency investing. They will definitely be the first one to buy Bitcoin, and before they will expose themselves to the other cryptocurrencies. It's also dubbed as digital gold, and it's because it's the most recognizable cryptocurrency. For Ethereum itself, as I mentioned, it is programmable due to its smart contract. You can actually program functions, you can program applications on it, and run additional processes on it as well. You can process simple processes like a vending machine where simple conditions are met, up to what we have decentralized finance, non-fungible tokens. These are all run via smart contract. And they are upgrading Ethereum to a proof of stake. So if you would like to find out more about what's the difference between proof of work and proof of stake, do share with me in the chat below on the comments and let us know, so that I will work on another video to share with you guys the difference between proof of work and proof of stake. As Ethereum, they program it and they're upgrading it, therefore transactions are definitely going to be faster compared to Bitcoin. They are still the number 2 ranking in market cap, and after Bitcoin, usually the next cryptocurrency that people will always buy will be Ethereum. Therefore, they are dubbed as digital silver, and their second most recognizable cryptocurrency out there right now. So in summary, Bitcoin will still be the most favorable and recognizable cryptocurrency among retail and institutional investors. Whether you're new coming in to buy cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin will always be the first one on your plate. While Ethereum will be the second, Ethereum is always upgrading, with Vitalik Buterin and his team are continuously upgrading Ethereum itself. Even though they've released since 2015, Ethereum has gone through multiple upgrades and have come to today, and they're still continuing more upgrades along the way, where Ethereum 2.0 are scheduled probably next year in 2022. As such, why are they upgrading? Because many of the other competitors or other altcoins that we call it are offering faster and cheaper transactions out there. At the same time, it's also offering better security as well. So Ethereum doesn't want to lose out their number 2 spot. They have always upgrading the coin and the network. For now, there's no use case for Bitcoin other than it being a store of value. And I think this is good because we want a cryptocurrency that doesn't do much other than just being a store of value. Just like our normal currency these days, we want it to be stable. And for it to be stable, it has to be pegged to something else. For cryptocurrencies, all the other cryptocurrencies to be stable, hopefully one day they will be pegged to the Bitcoin instead of the US dollar. Last of all, I'd like to share that I personally very like smart contracts or the Ethereum itself, because you can make programs or you can make processes from very basics to very complex functions. And it also gave rise to the thousands and thousands of altcoins out there. And right now, because of smart contracts itself, it gave us decentralized finance, decentralized apps, and also NFTs. So if you'd like to find out more about any of the points that I mentioned, decentralized finance, decentralized apps, or NFTs, do share with me in the comment as well. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.